Pastor, and Tom Unterman. Thank you so much. You know, as an executive director, I always have the privilege to speak on behalf of the organization at events like this. But I worry sometimes it submerges a dynamic where really it's all very much a team effort. An event like this, if I was in control by myself, you all would be sitting on the floor, there would be a few grilled cheese sandwiches somewhere, and maybe 1 six-pack of beer for you to all share. But luckily, I'm not here doing this on my own. We have the entire Advancement Project staff really kicking in, not only for this event, but all of the work that we do. So can we give a round of applause for the Advancement Project staff, please? So at the beginning of this administration, with the inauguration and the first round of executive orders, the president was sending the American people a very clear message. The message wasn't a reflective homily on American unity and how it was time for us to now all come together. It wasn't a message about how he was ready to govern on behalf of all of us. His message was more akin to The Godfather in terms of fish wrapped in newspaper. The current administration's game plan is very clear: to stoke a national mood of despair, scarcity, and anxiety, point the finger at a few ready-made scapegoats, and unleash only the most aggressive and punitive arms of the federal government while starving all of the rest. This playbook, like a script from an old reality TV show, is all to make this president look very good, very strong, very effective. All the while hoping that no one will notice that there is no true leadership behind the curtain, no substantive policy, no substantive progress for the average American. And hopefully no one will notice that it's he and his buddies that are making out like bandits. We've seen this game before. We actually can see right through it. But unfortunately, this game is sowing real fear and real hurt in many communities on the ground right here in our backyard. Now, since the election, much has been said about this notion of California as the leader of the resistance to this administration's rhetoric and to its policies. This idea, when I hear it, fills me with hope and excitement, but it also fills me with some amount of anxiety. First, why I believe this is a good idea for us. We have the size and the politics for it. 6th largest economy in the world. We are a net contributor to the federal government, meaning that we send more of our tax dollars to DC than we get back in terms of our state programs and supported by the federal government. And yes, we are a solidly blue state. All of our state level electeds and our legislative leaders are all itching for a fight with this White House. We also have a track record for this kind of vote. California has long been seen as a bellwether for the rest of the nation in terms of how we tackle our most intractable problems, how we move our demographics, and how our technological innovations change how we do everything. California has been that mighty left coast tugboat pulling the rest of the country into the future. The last reason why I think we're suited for this kind of leadership is that we've seen this moment before, and we've talked about this. If you recall, for many years, California was roiling with our own brand of testosterone-driven, aggressively hateful, and fear-based politics, culminating in the 1990s with a series of anti-immigrant and anti-progress propositions like 187, 209, 227, and Proposition 21. All of them passed here in California. Because of this, we saw the fear in the eyes of our immigrant communities. We saw the over-criminalization of our youth, particularly our youth of color, and we saw the pillaging of our economy on behalf of the few. We also saw the inevitable collisions and disintegration of our civic society that comes from this type of politics. So many leaders here in this crowd took to the true challenge of running a pluralistic democracy, where complexity and collaboration are par for the course, where we've taken on the hard work to truly care for the neediest of our residents, but also build out new social compacts so we can all live and thrive together. But sitting right behind all those good reasons why we should take this level of leadership are some perils that I think we need to be very real about. One danger is that we can get carried away about where California truly is at this moment for all of our residents, particularly for our low-income communities of color. Yeah, we are a solidly blue state, but we are far from being a blue paradise. There are so many communities and families that have yet to feel the full benefit of this progress and innovation, And when you position yourself as the model in which the rest of the nation should follow, sometimes it's not so popular to call out the things that we still need to fix right here in our home. Another real danger that we have in picking this fight with the administration is that we can lock ourselves into an all-encompassing binary with that administration, constantly just reacting and defending. And if we're not careful, we can fall into that swirl of anxiety and scarcity thinking that put a halt to all of our progress. And that just won't do, not at a moment like this. Because when we look back at our movement's biggest wins, when we see the greatest leaps forward, they all come from a place of creativity and hope and vision. They come from a place where people knew that they were standing on the shores of real progress, and we reached for the next and for the better. Now, let me be clear. So even with these perils of California as leading the resistance, for me, I say we do it. The administration represents an existential threat to all of the progress we've made over the past 25 years. There are too many families and communities that are in the crosshairs of this administration for us not to step up at this particular moment. But we just have to build our capacity to walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes, let's get on the front lines of this battle, but let's not forget of the lessons of the 90s, that when you're leaving some communities behind, it means that we're all stuck in the past. We need to hold up California as a model because we're truthful and rigorous about all the things that we need to still fix here. And we need to be bold. We need to push forward and lift all of us along with us. Looking around, what I'm most inspired by are normal, everyday people. People who have the most to lose are the ones that are standing tall at this particular moment. How in the midst of chaos and fear and hate, they're standing tall, unapologetic, and unafraid. From the dreamers that refuse to be quiet, to those who stay ever vigilant about the constant threat of police violence in the Black community, to the mothers and fathers that Ernesto talked about who are showing up, even though they may lose their kids, going to fight to their very last day to make sure they have everything that they need. They are standing tall. To the transgender community, pushing us to make sure we get all of our pronouns right. To the Muslim American community, reminding us that America's greatness comes from an ever-expanding vision of who we are and not a contracting one. They are standing tall. And they call on all of us to be bold as well at this moment. They call on all of us to stand with them. So I say, let's do it. I say we live into our size, we live into our values, and we do what we do best. We be creative and innovative at this particular moment. Let's fight to hold the line on ACA, but let's not be afraid to call out where it needs to be fixed to truly improve access and not just coverage. If they blow up the tax system in DC to again benefit the few, let's find new ways to hold some of those tax dollars right here in California to fix our schools, our neighborhoods, and prepare our economy for the next 100 years. And as they seek to undermine our progress around schools and public safety, let's build up new systems of equity and accountability so that those most critical institutions work for all of us. In many years, I think that we'll look back and see that this is how Advancing Project California is going to roll. We will distill our thinking to focus on our core mission, which is to develop and uplift a powerful, progressive, multiracial vision for this state. We're about building these new partnerships, these new approaches, and institutions to truly achieve racial equity. We'll be doubling down on our campaigns around equitable funding and meaningful policy change, but we'll also be utilizing our full research capacity to call on the things that we still need to fix in this state, particularly around racial disparities that still plague our largest public institutions. We'll be building out these new partnerships and new pathways for building community power. And when it's required upon us, there are times when we'll need to step out of our comfort zones and both step all together. For example, one of the things that we'll be soon releasing with our organizing community partners around the state is a comprehensive platform to ensure safe schools for all. The idea being to bind together the different efforts to protect the undocumented, transgender, Muslim American, and Black students, and to bind them all together in a unified campaign. To build new solidarities across these student populations and make sure that all of Californian students feel truly safe and welcome on our school campuses. Towards this vision, we're going to co-sponsor some bills in the legislature. We're going to have conversations with the California Department of Education. But what I'm most excited about is the possibility of youth organizers around the state fighting at the local levels to make sure that this vision comes alive in terms of a fully inclusive school. Indeed. So in closing, please allow me a moment of personal indulgence. First, to acknowledge my life partner, my constant source of inspiration, my wife, Jung-Yi Choi. Again, it was midnight last night when I was freaking out and decided to completely rewrite this speech. And she, of course, helped me to focus, to buckle down, and to think through what needs to be said at a moment like this. So thank you so much, sweetie. Let me also lift up my daughter, Naya, once again. I know you guys have all heard me speak about my daughter a few times. She's 10 years old now, and her two favorite things to do right now is to write poetry and to write protest chants. I don't know where she gets the second one from. But I think we need to all follow her lead at this particular moment. Let's protest all the ridiculous stuff coming out of Washington, D.C. But let's also live into the poetry that is California. Because we will not win by simply punching back. We will not win by going tweet for tweet. We will win when we tap into our creativity and our hope. We will win when Californians, all Californians, feel the glow of the Golden State. Because in the end, I firmly believe, that the best resistance is our collective success. Thank you so much.